Good evening, Yorktown. Welcome to the April 21st Town Board meeting. I'd ask you all to rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of
America, and to the republic
for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation, under God,
indivisible,
with
liberty and
liberty and
justice for all.
I ask you all to join us in a special prayer tonight. And I know it's usually a moment of silence, but we're going to be recognizing officially Yom HaShoah, which is the Holocaust Remembrance Day. And I ask you to join me in a prayer specifically for Yom HaShoah. Master of the Universe, this is from Rabbi David Katz. Master of the Universe, on this most solemn of occasions, we open our hearts, minds, and souls to you. As we remember the 6 million, the 11 million, the indifference, and the evil. As we honor the heroes, the martyrs, the survivors, and the victims, we ask you to soothe our souls, to amplify our memories, to strengthen our resolve, and to hear our prayers. We ask for your presence in our midst, for healing, light, and love to soothe and ease our pain as we commemorate the horrors that were committed not long ago. Please, O Holy One, be gentle with our souls. We ask that you help us to forever remember the stories we hear. As tales of the atrocities are shared, as we re-encounter the unthinkable, we ask that these memories be strengthened and never fade, in the hope that those who remember the mistakes of the past will not repeat them. Please, O Holy One, amplify our ability to remember. We ask that you strengthen our will, that you help us to ensure that the world does not again see such monstrosities. May we say never again. And we dedicate ourselves to this principle, to the idea that justice does not allow persecution, that genocide shall not be repeated, and that vigilance is the responsibility of freedom at all costs. Please, O Holy One, make manifest our resolve that these horrors remain but memories. We ask that you answer our prayers. We pray that the call of evil falls on deaf ears, that those who fight for freedom and justice always prevail, that those who need protection do not become victims. We pray that the lessons we learn from this darkest hour allow all humankind to better itself and to truly and nobly embody the idea that we are each made in your image. We pray for the souls of the millions and millions of victims of this brutality. We pray that we honor their lives and their memories by observing this day and by doing everything in our power and beyond to make sure that no such shadow again darkens our world. Above all, we pray for shalom, for wholeness and peace to be in our midst now and forever. Please, O Holy One, answer our prayers and bring us a world devoid of hatred, filled instead with peace. May this be God's will, and may we all say together, Amen.
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 Again, welcome to the Town Board meeting. It is April 21st, 2020. This is our second video conference Town Board meeting. I'm going to ask the Town Board to introduce themselves, beginning with Councilman Tom Diana.
Tom Diana, Councilman.
Ed Lachman, Councilman.
Vishnu Patel, Yorktown, Councilman.
Alice Roker, Councilperson.
Excellent.
Diana Quast, Town Clerk.
Adam Rodriguez, Town Attorney.
And I'm John Tegeter, Director of Planning.
Very good. So just a few announcements to make tonight. As a reminder for those at home, we continue to provide nearly daily updates on the COVID-19 crisis. Today, we are reporting 370 confirmed cases in the town of Yorktown. That's an increase of 8 from yesterday. Westchester County is now at 24,656 cases, which is an increase of 350 from yesterday. And New York State is now at 251,690, which is an increase of 4,178 from yesterday. Again, I just want to emphasize that while the numbers are still increasing, for the most part, statistically, we are sitting at a plateau, which I think is a direct result of the New York on pause order and the social distancing parameters that are being followed by the residents of our town, our county, our state. And I think everyone should be applauded for their efforts. Again, we're at a plateau, so we're not declining. So it's important to keep in mind when you are going in public, there are still certain parameters that need to be followed. If you cannot follow social distancing, which is that 6-foot distance, when you are out in public, you are now required to wear a mask or cloth covering. That is an order by the state of New York. And the New York on pause order, which is the 100% workforce reduction, continues to be in effect until May 15th. We're starting to see very slow, very, very, very slow releases from that. The governor announced today that elective outpatient treatments are going to start to begin in very specific places that qualify. That's, again, based off of their level of COVID-19 test results, and that's going to start on April 28th. That was announced earlier today. The North County Trailway is going to remain open. I was on a conference call with County Executive Latimer yesterday, and he did state that the county was going to keep the North County Trailway open. I know that people continue to use that quite frequently. It's a great asset in our town. As a reminder, again, even when you're out in these public places, it might be open air, but if you can't maintain that 6-foot barrier of social distancing, you are required to, like I said earlier, to wear that mask. And that includes over at the Trailway, or if you're going to any of our passive parks that remain open. One that jumps to mind is Turkey Mountain. I know that continues to be a very popular spot. So again, if you can't maintain social distancing, please make sure you're wearing a facial cover. Yesterday, the county, and I know we're going to have County Legislator Vidat Ghashi join us. Very excited for that. The county announced that it's going to be opening 2 of its public golf courses, Mohansick Golf Course right here in the town of Yorktown, and the Hudson Hills Golf Course, which is technically in Ossining. They're going to begin opening on Saturday. Very specific arrangements for their opening. There's no carts. You have to walk. They're very specific tee times. But that was a reversal from the state's directive that golf courses and marinas were to remain closed. The states shifted and pivoted on that. And now they are allowed to be open. And so the county is opening 2. These are the only 2 county golf courses currently will be opened. And that begins on Saturday. COVID-19 testing, we are seeing an increase in local testing. There's no state-run facility. Like Down County, they have them in Yonkers, Mount Vernon, and New Rochelle. They also have them at the medical center over in Valhalla. I know that they also have a site at Phelps over in Sleepy Hollow. But we are seeing several urgent cares that are offering testing and private healthcare providers. So for anyone who does feel that they still need to be tested for COVID-19, please contact your healthcare provider. Many of them are using telehealth medicine. So it's going to be a very similar situation like we are here, where you're going to be talking one-on-one to your doctor over your computer or your phone, and then they will arrange for you to get a COVID-19 test. So you can utilize that here locally as well. I received quite a number of phone calls and Facebook messages today about recycling. Recycling is it's important to understand the commingling of recyclables is not allowed. And while our AAA Carting, who is our garbage contractor, may have been flexible on that, considering the volume of recyclables and garbage overall that we're seeing, we are being told that they are now strictly enforcing it. So very important that you're not commingling your recyclables, because if they are commingled, they may not pick it up. I'm not saying that I agree with that. That's the policy that they are handing down to the town. We are working very closely with our refuse and recycling director to rectify this. But for folks at home, again, make sure you're separating your plastics and your cardboard. Make sure there's no garbage in that recycling container, in your recycling bin. and that's going to help ensure that your recycling is in fact picked up. Our bulk trash schedule is going to be modified again. As a reminder to everyone at home, we still remain at 50% of our total workforce. So while we have technically 12 people in our R&R department, we're only functioning right now with less than 6 for each day. So half of our staff, coupled with the fact that we have everyone home, which is producing more garbage, everyone's getting to those long-waited errands to go clean out that garage or that basement, and producing more trash and producing larger volumes of bulk pickup. It's taking our staff, frankly, longer to get through the town. And perfect example is the leaf bag and stick bundle. That was supposed to be a Thursday, Friday operation for the entire town. I believe we're still going through with that right now. So we've had to double the time. Again, combination of short staff, high volume. So just please be patient with us. If you do have issues with your trash pickup, you can reach out to me directly. You can email me at mslater@yorktownny.org, and we will report it immediately to our refuse and recycling staff, who continues to do a great job, as is all of our staff, all of our departments who are continuing to function and continuing to do great work. And I want to thank all of the members of our staff for their continued efforts during this very trying time. One of which is our rec department. Spring rec programs in the town of Yorktown have been officially canceled. There are some club sports who have also canceled officially their spring sports for 2020. For the town of Yorktown, if you did register for a spring program, you will be fully reimbursed. And we are looking forward as we prepare for the summer. That includes pools and camps. Right now, under the governor's order, pools are not allowed to be open. Public pools are not allowed to be open. So we are at the mercy, frankly, of the governor's decisions. Under the town's emergency order under active parklands, which do remain closed, pools do fall into that category as well. But we continue to have fluid conversations about whether or not we plan on opening our pool and camps. I think we're still a few weeks away from making those final decisions. But camp registration is open for the town of Yorktown, for the town of Yorktown camps. If it comes to the point where we decide not to have camp registration, offer camp services, anyone who does register would be fully reimbursed by the town. I do have 2 pieces of good news that I'm very excited to share with the town of Yorktown. First is taxes. Received a number of calls and emails regarding the tax situation. And so here's the very latest as of today. And the county legislator, Gashi, is going to be on again, and he's going to be able to provide more insight on this. Late yesterday, Governor Cuomo handed down an executive order, essentially giving the county executive the authority to waive penalties and late fees for those impacted by the coronavirus. We're still getting details on this. We're going to get more details tomorrow from the county executive's office. I was speaking with him earlier today. But essentially, there's going to be a hardship requirement. And so those who have been financially impacted, and we're going to get those details tomorrow of what that hardship means, there will be an extension on those taxes with no penalty and no fee, which is great. And something that this entire board has been advocating for, both on the county and the state level. And for everyone else, if you are able to pay your taxes, your tax bill is still due April 30th. There's no more reduction in penalty and late fees. That has been suspended as part of the governor's order. So for those who are able to pay, you're still expected to pay April 30th. For those negatively impacted financially by the coronavirus and COVID-19 pandemic, once we get those hardship parameters, you'll be able to apply and prove hardship and get your taxes extended. So we're helping those who are most severely impacted by this unprecedented situation. So I think that is really good news and great collaboration, both from us here in the town of Yorktown, who I frankly believe led on this issue. We sent the letter to the governor in March, recognizing this was going to be a problem, asking for some type of flexibility that matches the state and federal income tax deadline, and he provided that, because this is going to provide that for those who need. It's going to essentially provide that extension to the 31st. And we passed a resolution just last week, stating the same, reemphasizing that we believe that a 0% penalty and late fee structure for those negatively impacted was critical. And here we, again, we were working hand in hand with the county executive, with the governor's office, and I think we've achieved some real property tax relief for those most impacted by this situation. And we're going to, as we get more information, those details emerge on the hardship clause. We'll provide that to everyone on our website and in all means that we can. And last bit of good news that I wanted to share, my executive assistant, Jenna Bell Castro, gave birth last week to a very healthy little boy named Christopher. And so I just wanted to personally send my love and affection to the whole Bell Castro family, Jenna and her husband, Dan, and their little guy, Christopher. We're so excited to meet him. Can't wait for us to be able to get within 6 feet of each other and enjoy our company. But congratulations to Jenna and her whole family on this great news. And that concludes my report to the town. Why don't we go as if we were here on the dais? Councilman Patel, do you have any thing you want to add to the town?
I have one true story that 93-year-old man who got better in a hospital after 1 day of ventilators. And for that, the doctor asked the old man that it's going to cost $500 dollars. And the old man began to cry for the bill, but the doctor said, don't worry about the bill. That the old man said, the reason I'm crying is not because I cannot pay the bill, I'm going to pay the bill. Then the old man said that money is no problem, but why does it cost $500 to breathe 1 day's air? For 93 years, God has given me free air, and that's what made every doctor in the hospital cry. Mm. So the use of ventilator in a hospital for 1 day and my free oxygen air, rich air for 93 years, I did not thank the God for that. And that was, everybody is crying because of this message. This is the true story, and I have the video. I hope everybody be safe and continue to follow what the officials and the health service provider, and keep healthy, and we'll see you soon on the live television.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Roker, report to the town.
Yeah, I would like to just thank everyone in Yorktown who are following the guidelines with regard to personal protection. This COVID-19 disease is brutal. I've lost 2 friends to it, and I just ask people to be patient. I know it's difficult being in your house for as many days as we have been, but it's necessary. And I'd also like to thank the first responders, the nurses, the doctors who are doing such a great job. I'm done.
Thank you, Councilwoman. We appreciate it. Councilman Diana, report to the town.
Good evening, everybody. And thank you for tuning in tonight. And a special congratulations to Dan and Jenna on the birth of their child. That's a wonderful event in these trying times. And kind of to echo Alice, this is real, folks. This isn't spring break. Let's do the right thing. Let's try and wear our personal protective equipment when we're out in the public, where you are closer than 6 feet to people. And these items must be discarded properly. When you discard them, when you get out of the supermarket, or you get out of wherever you are and you have your personal protective items on, don't throw them on the sidewalk. somebody's father, mother, brother, sister is going to have to pick them up and dispose of them. Take them with you. Put them in your garbage. It's very simple. We have many receptacles throughout town. Throw them away, folks. Let's all work through this together.
And as a reminder, Councilman, and for everyone at home, we have doubled the fine for littering in the town of Yorktown. It is now $1,000. We have our code enforcement out. We have our police. I know are out, obviously. And so this is a very serious issue that we are making sure is properly enforced. So it's Councilman Diana's point, just unacceptable behavior. Councilman Lachterman, report to the town.
Well, I want to also echo the thanks to all the first responders and, all of the people. You know what? Not only our first responders, healthcare workers, but even look at your stores, look at your supermarkets with teenage kids showing the responsibilities and doing what they need to do and being there for our people, which is great. So thank you to all of you, and congratulations, Jenna and Dan, of course. I wanted to, I know we're going to talk about Yom HaShoah a little bit later, which is Holocaust Remembrance. We were planning on doing one this year, of course, with everything happening with the COVID-19. It went sideways, so that's not happening. But I did want to remind people that you can go online on our website. I know I just typed in Holocaust Remembrance, and the one from 4 years ago with Sam Matza, one of our local residents, which was our first one, popped up. And I'm sure somewhere on there are the ones for the two Peters for the next 2 years. Both were from Budapest, and both had very different experiences. One, Peter Volges, was a Auschwitz survivor, and then the other Peter was put into the ghettos, and talks about the experience with that. Just really powerful stuff. If you have an opportunity, please go on, try to look. Remember, at a time like this, we need to really sit back, remember the past, and reflect on where we could make life better moving forward. We've had these resets before. I guess about 100 years ago, 102 years ago, it was the last time we had the Spanish influenza. And you know what? Very similar situations. History does repeat itself. We want to make sure that those things we can control do not repeat, especially those of such horrible experiences.
Hey, Ed, thank you for the work you do with that. It's awesome. It's a very moving ceremony and talk that those survivors put on. And you can watch it on TV, you can read about it in the books, but it's not until you actually see the tattoos on these folks' skin and actually hear their stories on how they were used as test tubes, basically, to see if they were different than anybody else, and a set of twins that God knows what they did to them. Ed, thank you. And if we had something like this in place, is there a possibility that possibly we could videotape it and put it up on our website?
Well, I was going to say, why don't we talk to Tom Ciangelo and Diana about re-airing the ones from the past, and we can also get the file, and I'll have Robin add it to the town's Facebook page, and we can replay the ceremonies that we've had in the past, and so people can hear those stories and experience what that's like.
Great, thank you, Matt. Great idea.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's something you won't forget if you haven't been to one of the days where these folks are speaking.
Yeah, agreed. I'm not sure. I don't believe Highway Superintendent Paganelli is with us today, but I know he is working very hard, and his staff. They continue to have the organic yard remains open Monday through Saturday. I think it's 7:30 to 2, and I know that they continue to have a large volume of folks who utilize that service, and I really want to thank the Highway Superintendent and his staff for keeping that open. I do see that we are joined currently by the County Legislator of the 4th District, Vidat Ghashi. Sir, how you doing? I think you have to hit the space bar, or if you're unmuted, there you go. Perfect.
I think I'm off mute now. I'm good. I'm good. Thank
How are
you
you?
for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us. We had some pretty exciting news come out of the county today. We talked a little bit earlier about what that announcement broadly entailed regarding the executive order from the governor. I know that was something that you and I had many conversations about, and I appreciate your leadership on it and partnership along with the county executive to help those in need during this trying time. Could you share with us some details about what the county's planning on doing now?
Sure. And thank you for the kind words. I found the relationship to be great. It's been a wonderful joy to work through some difficult problems with you and with the county and with our partners everywhere. I know you and I were in opposition to our colleagues generally on this plan. I think the supervisors in general preferred the plan where a penalty to the residents was conveyed. The legislature as well. I stood against it. I voted against that, any imposition of a penalty during a time of crisis. Fortunately, it was a long road getting here, but we're there now. The newest plan, some of the details are still coming out. I think it's going to involve a form. The details of the form, or rather the general idea of the form has been conveyed to me, but I haven't seen the actual form yet. As I understand it, it's going to be a relatively simple form, akin somewhat to a STAR tax exemption. The idea is to ask anyone who's actually experiencing a hardship to affirmatively declare that. That affirmative declaration will be something, an added step that somebody would have to, under penalty of perjury, have to say. It's a two-tiered system. Well, not two-tiered. It recognizes that there's a residential class of taxpayer and the businesses, and has criteria applicable to both. For the taxpayers, it's meant to impact those that are impacted by the COVID crisis, this pandemic. If they're under a hardship because of that, they have to declare as such. If they're paying the payments directly, this applies to people that are paying directly rather than those paying through escrows. Right. It requires that the taxpayer be enrolled in the STAR program and fully qualified for it. And just a single page form saying that they're experiencing hardship or loss of wages or anything along those lines.
And county legislator, to be clear, you said that it's only for those who pay those taxes directly, not through escrow.
No, not through escrow. I think the idea is, and obviously this comes down from the governor, so it comes down to the governor pursuant to our request, but we're a little bit beholden to what the governor's executive order says. But yeah, you and I were both against our colleagues. The supervisors had a particular plan, and the legislature was in favor of that plan. I was on the other side of it, but I didn't think that their plan was terrible. My thought was, when you weigh the needs of the towns versus the needs of the individual, I would hope to protect and be on the side of the individual who's experiencing a personal hardship, rather than before the governmental entity. Right. I think what this would do, the people that pay directly, and that accepting those that are paying through escrow, recognizes that we still need money to fund to run the government. We have police departments. We have vital work that needs to be done, probably now more than ever. And in this tremendously important time to take away that money from the towns, when towns are spending more money than they would otherwise, same for the county, would have placed, I think, in the minds of a lot of the towns, would have placed an undue hardship on the towns, and for that reason, they've accepted it. The people that are paying through escrows, the idea is that money's already there, that payment's already made, and frankly would complicate matters. It's my understanding of how we got there.
Yeah, I think when I was talking to our tax receiver, county legislator, I was informed that for most who pay through escrow, that payment is actually secured by March. So they already, to your point, they've already made that payment. And then the bank releases it in April to the municipality.
Yeah, I think my biggest problem with the plan before was if you've lost your job or if you're in this time of a real extreme hardship, you really don't have a choice. You're going to have to pay. This isn't meant to be a blank check or I think a holiday from the things from our responsibilities. This is, I think, meant to respond to the people who are in a position of sincere need. If the money's been paid, if you're able to make that payment, frankly, I think it's one of the most patriotic ways you can. One of the most patriotic things you can do is pay your payment. And incidentally, it's a payment that you're going to have to make at some point. I've been encouraged to find or hear from a number of different places. One of your Supervisor Lucas from North Salem was saying that his collections are above normal, and that's wonderful. I think these are monies that have to be paid at some point. If you can pay, you should pay. What I'm proud to support and excited to report is that this is a solution, a partial solution to those people who aren't able to do so, who find themselves in this difficult position.
And I think that's what our board supported as well. And to your point, I'm the new young guy on the block when it comes to town supervisors, and this is one of those issues where I dug my heels into the ground on, and I was Councilman Roker and I had more than a few conversations about this through this process. But I think that myself and I think the entire board felt it was improper, to your point, to those who are really facing financial hardship as a result of the coronavirus, who've lost their jobs. You have millions of New Yorkers who are applying for unemployment. It really is an uncertain time for a lot of people. To not provide them with some type of relief, whether that's just a simple extension. And I felt that from frankly some of my colleagues who believe that a penalty was justified. I just felt it was frankly out of touch and just inappropriate. And so you and I worked on this together, and again, I really want to thank you for your partnership on it, and with the entire board, because we stood together on this and passed a resolution just last week in time for your vote. I know that you and I had discussed it and going into it, and I was one of, I think I might have been the only supervisor, frankly, that was a hard no on this, but you were one of only 3 legislators to take a stand on this. And so what's right is right. And in a time of crisis, that's what you got to focus on.
Yeah.
Thank you both for your leadership on this, because you know what? It's right what you did. It's right not to charge a person who might have lost their job the penalty and interest. Again, it's not saying we don't, you're going to be absolved from it. We're just pushing the date back by which you can pay us.
Yeah, it's a helping hand. We're just offering a helping hand to help them get through a time of great uncertainty and stress.
Correct.
To those who need it because they need it.
Right. With that, this is Vishnu. You may never know, you may need that shoulder to lean on. So thank you for your vote. And I want to ask you something. Is there any income limit, that certain income you have to pay and a certain, lower income you don't, a penalty pay? So is there any number they have it in a county, or this is just for everybody?
Well, I think there might be an indirect income. Insofar as there is one for the STAR requirement, there may be, I guess, indirectly. If you qualify for STAR.
$500,000 to qualify for the STAR program.
Right.
So if you make a less than $500,000, you qualify. If you make more than $500,000, you won't qualify. So you have to be a STAR recipient or at least qualify for STAR in order to, that's the first qualification to be eligible. And then you have to prove hardship and sign an affidavit stating such hardship.
Yeah. Just to go back for a really quick second, I don't think any of us are doing an end zone dance. I'm happy to get this, but I will say that even the colleagues that we disagreed with, we were all on the same page. We're all trying to get to the same.
Yeah.
And I've been proud of my colleagues and the supervisors on both sides of the aisle. I mean, we have a really difficult question here, and it isn't about partisan politics, and it isn't about, I think we're all trying to see how do we help most during this time. Certain of our colleagues thought we helped most by having a penalty which would shore up the revenues of the towns. I myself, and I think you and others, believed that we help most by not penalizing those and experiencing hardship during a crisis.
Agreed. I think there's another part of the plan that really's been taking a back seat, but I thought really spoke towards the flexibility of the county. And May 26th, there's a county tax warrant that's due. Town of Yorktown is due to owe $12 million. And as part of the executive order, we are now given the ability to go, frankly, negotiate with the executive and the commissioner of finance. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct.
That's tremendous from a municipal standpoint, because that was what I was harping on is, if the county wanted to provide assistance for local governments, that's the first way for us to address that, is that county tax warrant.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts, and it's again not an easy question. I felt very strongly about my point, but I also recognize that there's other side to this. I think talking with a number of the towns, there are certain towns that are going to have trouble meeting their obligations. I'm encouraged that I think the towns in this district are in a better financial position.
Agreed.
This again isn't a blank check given for no reason. If you're experiencing hardship, you find yourself in a position where you aren't doing the collections, or then that's the intent of this. I think actually the county executives push for this and eventual flexibility on that payment is remarkable, or at least exceptional. Exceptional is not something that you would normally see.
I agree.
And I think it's warranted because we're in exceptional times. This is not something anyone's ever dealt with before. Maybe the Spanish flu pandemic that Councilman Lochterman mentioned, but I wasn't around for that, so I don't know how that was handled.
Yeah. It may have been. We're not sure.
We didn't want to be there. It was tough.
Can I just say one more word here?
Of course.
Yes. CDC director, the COVID-19 outbreak could be even more difficult next time winter. This is Robert Redfield. He's the CDC director. So I think, we want to make sure that we continue to encourage people keep the distance and using the mask and, all the home hygienics and everything, continue to practice and keep the Yorktown green and clean. Thank you.
I agree. Thank you, Councilman. County Legislator, what else would you have to report to us tonight?
Well, no, I think that's the biggest ticket item. We have a lot of efforts going around. I'm participating in some meal delivery programs, and otherwise we're looking at ways to shore up and plan for the eventual resumption of activity. I applaud your efforts to put together that economic team to look at.
Task force. Yeah, thank you for participating. Really do appreciate the help.
I'm eager to participate more. Obviously, these are busy times to the extent we can. I think people are reacting. People have different reactions and ways to deal with this. For me, I guess the thing that was the most meaningful, the thing that I heard and I meant the most to me when I heard it was, we're in an uncertain time and we don't know when it'll end. We don't know if it's going to be another week or another month or another, well, who knows? But we do know that it will end.
Right.
And when it ends, we should be ready for it. And I think this tax plan recognizes that we have a unique and instantaneous difficult situation that we need to get through. And I hopefully it helps us get through it. I think all we can do is continue to be vigilant and prepare as best we can for the next phase. So thank you.
Agreed. And I want to thank you. The other thing that you and I are working on, and I think Greg Brown hopefully is listening, is our farm trail. I know that,
signs, yes.
Yep, the signs for the farm trail. So I want to thank you for that. And I know Councilwoman Roker is a big proponent of our local farms, and that's going to be a nice addition to what you just said when we get back to, or when we get to the point where we're lifting that veil, so to say, from into the new post-coronavirus world, and supporting our local businesses. That includes our local farms. So your support and helping that means an awful lot to this town, and I really want to thank you again for that.
Well, I know it's my pleasure.
Yeah.
I think we talk about branding our town and how do we make more of, and if you see and I'm sure you have, how many people are on these trails these past days between Turkey Mountain and the North County Trail.
Don't say your favorite, because it's mine too, and I don't want too many people going over there.
I'm not going to say my actual favorite, because for both reasons, it's my actual favorite. It's that it's a lot fewer people there. But we have so many wonderful attractions, such a wonderful draw. The nature, the trails, the open space. I think really during this moment, between a whole number of factors, family, coworkers, friends, and all that, but we really are in a privileged position, and I think it's made me recognize and appreciate that all the more.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity to come speak with you guys today. I am, whenever you need me, I'll be here. I try not to bother you guys too much, but
County Legislator, you've been a great partner for the town of Yorktown. So on behalf of all of our residents, I really want to thank you for your leadership, and looking forward to accomplishing more with you.
Thank you, Supervisor. It's been a pleasure. Thank you again, and thank you to the council. Thank you for that bill or that you guys put together. It was useful, and good luck to us all.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much. Your family.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, we are going to move on to the next item on our agenda. That's our Poet Laureate, John McMullen. I think John is joining us. John?
I don't have him on right now. I'm not sure if he gave up or not.
Okay. All right. So then if you get him on, Diana, if you can let me know, but we'll move on to the next agenda item, and that's the proclamation. And I believe Councilman Lachterman is going to be reading and introducing that.
Yep. Okay. Just had to unmute. Sorry. We have a proclamation for Holocaust remembrance. Whereas from 1933 to 1945, nearly 6 million Jews were murdered in the Nazi-led Holocaust as part of a systematic program of genocide. And whereas, in addition to targeting Jews across Europe, millions of other people perished as victims of Nazism. And whereas those who fell under German control, especially Jews, were stripped of their rights and property. And whereas nations across Europe lost a majority of the Jews living in their countries, especially places such as Poland, the Ukraine, and Belarus. And whereas the town of Yorktown has hosted Holocaust remembrance ceremonies to honor those who perished by educating the living of the atrocities that took place. And whereas the year 2020 marks the 87th anniversary of the beginning of the genocide of European Jews, society has an obligation to honor their memory by continued education of younger generations. And whereas Holocaust Remembrance Day, known in Hebrew as Yom HaShoah, is a day set aside for remembering the victims of the Holocaust and reminding citizens of the world that what can happen when hatred, bigotry, and indifference become accepted society policies. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the town of Yorktown pauses in its governmental deliberations to commemorate the observance of Yom HaShoah, and be it further resolved, the town of Yorktown rededicates its belief in the principle of equal justice for all people, and be it further resolved, the town of Yorktown reaffirms its commitment to fight all forms of hatred and anti-Semitism within our great community.
Fantastic. Thank you, Councilman. I would, I think what Town Clerk Diana Quast and I, we are unable to present the proclamation as we normally would. I think what we would like to do, and I think Councilman Diana, you are the liaison to the Interfaith Council.
Yes.
And what maybe we could do is have copies of this proclamation printed up and sent to the members of the Interfaith Council so that they can share it with their respective congregations.
Yeah, and one of the things that you can do just for our residents is post it on our website.
We absolutely.
I think it's an important document.
It's a great idea. Thank you, Councilwoman. I'll make sure that we send this over to our staff and they get it up there. Absolutely. Fantastic. Okay, we're going to move on to personnel. We're going to accept the retirement of Reva Queller from the John C. Hart Memorial Library effective May 4th, 2020. We're also going to accept the retirement of Isabel Klein from the Yorktown Justice Court effective May 1st, 2020. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, we're going to go to courtesy of the floor. Town Clerk Diana Quast, if you could assist us with that.
This is Stuart Friedman.
Fantastic. Mr. Friedman, good evening. Hello, Mr. Friedman. Nope, we got him.
I tried to find it on the Facebook page, but it doesn't seem to be there. The meeting.
What's that? No, the meeting is, we're not on our Facebook page right now. It's on the local government channel. Our apologies.
Oh. I don't even think it's on the local government channel because I checked that too. Yeah. Well, I guess you know better than I. All right.
How can we help you this evening?
Well, I just wanted to ask the board, especially the Republican members of the board, about the insightful things that our president has done. And I wanted to know your reaction. You know, first he says, you know, I'll leave it up to the governors. And he tweets, you know, liberty for all these different cities in America, which incites protesters who don't even social distance. I mean, if you see it, it's a reality. They didn't social distance, even though he said they did. And then anti-Semitic placards. I mean, it's really a bit much. First of all, I wouldn't mind if the board really did something about this. Write him a strong letter or something, because he incites his base. I just wanted to know where you stand on this.
We're gonna reserve all comments for the end of courtesy, sir.
So what does that mean? I have to do this again, or?
We'll comment at the end of courtesy of the floor. I think there are other people who are signed up for courtesy of the floor, and that's how we manage our courtesy of the floor process.
Because it's Holocaust remembrance now, and I became very furious over this. And, it's hard for me to support a president who does things like this. But I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say later.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Friedman.
Okay.
Next.
Next is Susan Siegel.
Am I connected?
Yes, you are.
Here.
Good to go.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I have a question. I'm sorry, I used the TV. I'm going back and forth. When you get to the resolution to award the contract for legal services, it's on the agenda. Okay, could you please give the total annual cost for the services, and also explain what special services may be included in that price, such as tax certiorari, labor counsel, and the cost for any additional litigation that I think is probably part of the proposal. That's just my question. Could you please explain all of that? And also compare the annual cost to the annual cost from last year on an annualized basis.
Sure, no problem. Thank you, Susan. Next.
Jay Copstein.
The total annual cost
Am I on?
services.
Mr. Copstein, are you able to mute your TV?
Yes.
My TV's off.
Oh, okay, great. You're on. How are you?
Okay, good. How you doing?
We're doing okay.
All right, I've got a question and a comment.
Yes, sir.
My question, although I have no objection to the resolution regarding the tax exemption for Beaver Ridge, in the interest of transparency, what is the monetary value of the exemption? My comment, according to the Northern Westchester Examiner published today, the county anticipates a significant budget shortfall of between $90 and $160 million. The newspaper also stated it is possible that County Executive Latimer will break his word about not raising property taxes after getting a 1% hike in the sales tax from those communities that were not already paying the higher tax. Once the sales tax increase was approved, the county legislators voted themselves a hefty 52% salary increase for what is essentially a part-time job. Perhaps the county legislators should repeal their excessive pay increase so that the average taxpayer does not have to go into financial strain to pay the legislature's exorbitant salaries for part-time jobs.
Thank you, Mr. Copstein.
That's
Next.
all I have right now.
All we have right now. Okay. And do we have a motion to close courtesy of the floor?
To close courtesy of the floor.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Any comments from the board?
I just want to thank Jay. The comments on that, I think you might have a better answer on the question, Matt. One thing that, and being very aware of my Jewish heritage and Yom HaShoah, one of the things that I took away, not that I think right, wrong, or indifferent, on the SWAT stickers at some of the marches, which the gentleman was referring to, the protest was not an anti-Semitic protest, but rather a taking away of civil liberty protest in a comparison to Nazi Germany and their taking away the rights of the people. I know that the COVID-19 crisis is quite quite complex. And if you read 4 different newspaper articles, you will find 4 different opinions on the subject, on the severity, anywhere from it's the next bubonic plague to it's all a scam. People are entitled to their opinions. It's one of the great things about our country. And it's unfortunate that we don't have a handle on everything here. And I think it's more a problem from how this disease progressed and what we didn't know about it. But people making that protest, not that I appreciate the swastika being used, but I can understand what they were trying to get apart. And I personally did not take it as an anti-Semitic point, but rather almost a solidarity in saying that they felt like the oppressed under the Nazis.
Any other comments from the board? Councilwoman Roker?
I'm going to have to disagree with you, Ed. Whenever I see a swastika, that's representative of anti-Semitism to me. Maybe not to the world, but certainly to me. It's very difficult sitting and watching stuff like this, particularly stuff that is cheered on by the President of the United States, and it's of the United States, all of us. We are all supposed to be one. And watching sometimes is painful.
Alice, I appreciate that, but I will say where it's extremely hard for me to see a swastika per se, there is no way that I want the image of that symbolism and what it stood for in Nazi Germany to be forgotten.
Yeah.
And I think that, if we say every time we see that symbol, it's an anti-Semitic remark, I think we're not doing justice to remembering what oppression came from and how people can relate to that oppression. Just a personal thing from my historic viewpoint.
No, I hear what you're saying. I hear.
If there's no other comments, quickly for Mr. Kopstein, the Beaver Ridge resolution on today's agenda. So the original, and Adam Rodriguez, our town attorney, feel free to jump in here at any point in time. The original agreement was a 40-year agreement that is now expired as of last year. There are, frankly, I think significant questions that need to be answered before we can negotiate, which the board discussed. And that's why we are giving a 1-year extension so that our staff and our assessor's office and our town attorney can get the necessary information for the board to make an educated decision on what that is going forward. For your question in regarding to the monetary value, I don't have that figure in front of me. I believe it's about $300,000 for this year. But again, I don't have that figure directly in front of me. But the thought is to continue with the current structure that they've been following for the last 40 years, and that gives us our staff the time to provide enough information for the board to make a well-informed decision moving forward. As for Ms. Siegel, and we can get into this is in regards to the resolution regarding the town attorney. It's the same exact contract, frankly, that was approved I think it was 2 years ago for the previous administration's town attorney, almost to the cent. And that includes your hourly fees and your extraordinary services, which are $275 an hour under the contract. Obviously, this is a public document, so you're entitled to a copy of it through the town clerk's office. Town tax certiorari is $210 an hour, and the overall contract is for $171,000, which includes labor, and again mirrors the contract that was approved by the previous town board for the previous town attorney. And so that should answer that question there. And as for Mr. Friedman's comments, let's just be very, very clear. Hatred of any kind is disgusting and intolerable, and I will not tolerate it. I don't care if it's white supremacists. I don't care if I don't care who it's directed to. There's no room and no tolerance in this community for hatred of any kind. And I might not agree with everything the president says, and I don't necessarily agree with everything he does. And I think what you've seen from this board, especially this year, and especially in the last 6 weeks, is proof that bipartisanship is alive and well. And frankly, I'll put our team up against anybody as an example of what government should be, because we are working really well together. We are putting any political differences aside for the good of the people, and we are serving the people of Yorktown. And I am frankly proud to serve with this board and work with people like Vidat Gashi, who is politically on the other side of the aisle from where I may sit. But I think we proved yet again today, both with County Legislator Gashi, County Executive Latimer, and Governor Cuomo, that if you really want to do the right thing, you put the politics away and you do the right thing. And that's exactly what I have done and exactly what this board has done. So any kind of insinuations, I think are called for. And frankly, as I said earlier, any type of hatred whatsoever, in whatever form you want to describe it as, is not going to be accepted by me personally. And I hope that answers.
I can only echo what the supervisor said. Matter of fact, I brought forth a resolution a couple of months ago, which denounces any type of hatred of any race, color, or creed that may be spoken. And we read that during one of our open town board meetings.
And that was a town board meeting right after we had a number of, we had a string of vandalism, which attacked a Memora, attacked a Roman Catholic church, it attacked a First Presbyterian church, attacked several of our town institutions. I think that from the get-go, we have been very clear in a unified manner, regardless of political affiliation, that this town board and this town government rejects wholeheartedly any form of hatred. And I don't care who it comes from, and I don't care what it's perceived as. It is unacceptable and will not be tolerated. And I don't know if we have to say much more on the matter, quite frankly.
Absolutely.
Moving forward to resolutions. Mr. Friedman, I hope you're listening, because this one includes the President of the United States. Calling upon the President, and by the way, this is from the Association of Towns, and this is something that we were listening to the governor speak of moments ago before getting on to tonight's meeting. There is a significant issue of funding. In fact, of the 933 towns in the state of New York, only 931 qualified for funding under the Federal CARES program. And so this is a resolution that we will be sending to the following. Actually, Councilwoman Roker, do you want to read it? This is something that you and I worked on together. Would you like to read it and introduce it?
Sure. Call upon the President of the United States, Donald Trump, Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, Mitch McConnell, Majority Leader of the United States Senate, and our congressional representatives, Nita Lowey, Sean Patrick Maloney, and in the Senate, Chuck Schumer and Kristen Gillibrand, to support federal funding related to the coronavirus pandemic be directly delivered to the municipality. Whereas the federal government recently enacted the Corona Aid Relief and Economic Security Act to address the economic fallout from the coronavirus pandemic in the United States, and whereas Section 601 of the CARES Act provides a $150 billion fund for states, tribal governments, and units of local government with a population in excess of 500,000 people, and whereas less than 1/2 of 1% of municipalities in the entire United States meet this population threshold, and are thus ineligible to receive direct funding from the federal government. And whereas of the 933 towns in New York, 931 are not eligible for direct funding under the CARES Act, including the town of Yorktown. And whereas towns provide essential services to the 9 million New York town residents, including but not limited to ambulance, police, and fire protection services, building and code enforcement, and highway maintenance, and have continued to do so throughout the ongoing health crisis. Whereas the coronavirus pandemic has created significant financial stress for local governments in New York, as an estimated $2 billion in sales tax revenue has been lost, as well as other sources of revenue, such as permit fees, justice court fines, and mortgage recording taxes. And whereas the depletion of different revenue sources for local governments combined with lack of funding will result in reducing essential services or shifting the cost onto real property taxpayers, many of whom are experiencing their own financial stress. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town of Yorktown calls upon the President of the United States, Donald Trump, Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, Mitch McConnell, Majority Leader of the United States Senate, and our congressional representatives, Nita Lowey and Sean Patrick Maloney, and our two United States Senators, Charles Schumer and Kristen Gillibrand, to support federal funding related to the coronavirus pandemic that is directly delivered to all municipalities, regardless of population size.
I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I'll take the second then.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Councilwoman, thank you. Any comments on that, by the way? I think you were going to say something, Councilwoman Roker.
No, I say that's a very important resolution for us in terms of funding. And we're not saying that small businesses should not be funded. We're saying that in order for them to exist, they have to exist in a town, and we have to, I think the federal government really is the only place we can look to get some of the money that has been
yeah, I agree.
That we will lack. And I guess I want people to remember that this is our money. This is money that the people of the United States, including the state of New York and the town of Yorktown, has sent to Washington, D.C. And my feeling is if you cannot support the people who send you the money, who else can you support?
Well said. Well said, Councilman. Thank you. And thank you for your help in putting this together. Something that you and I had both talked about quite a few times. And so when we saw the town's resolution, I was very happy to add it to the resolution with your support.
Yeah.
I think we can go through the others for the most part, and we'll just go through at the end. Authorize supervisor to execute amendments to the contracts of all tenants, licensees at the Albert A. Capellini Community and Cultural Center. I actually just want to make a comment on this to make sure that everyone understands. You know, we do have tenants who are paying rent at the Albert A. Capellini Center. However, they're not operating. They're not able to operate because town buildings are currently closed. The town board had a conversation. I spoke with each person individually, and we felt that it was frankly inappropriate for us to ask them to pay rent when they are not able to operate. And hopefully this is, again, this town board in this town leading by example, recognizing the dire situation many small businesses are in, and many neighbors are in. So We believe it's the right thing to do. And so next, we authorize supervisor to sign a 1-year extension to the New York Private Housing Finance Law Tax Exemption Agreement with Beechridge Housing Associates LP. We're going to authorize the supervisor to sign an agreement with the Energy Improvement Corporation relating to Energy New York Open Space Financing Program. Just to point of clarification on this, this was something that was done that the previous board had taken up. The final contract was never executed, and so this just allows me to execute that final contract. It's going to be a great program for this town, and something that I think that a lot of hopefully businesses are going to take advantage of when we start to lift that veil on the coronavirus. Authorize supervisors sign an agreement with Bleakley, Platt, and Schmidt to provide municipal legal services to the town of Yorktown. Designate the town clerk as the records access officer for the town of Yorktown. We're also going to designate councilperson, town attorney, and director of planning as the records appeal committee, and the town comptroller as an alternate. As is laid out in the resolution, Councilman Ed Lachterman will be designated as the member of the board for the committee. We're going to authorize the comptroller to set up a tree bank fund under Chapter 270 of the Code of the Town of Yorktown. At the end of,
can I just ask you to go back to that resolution? Because what you do, if, you're talking about changing a process, and to put Ed's name in it would be really a problem, because it would be something that would come up every 2 years. It would probably be better if you amended your liaison list and put that on the liaison list, and let this be a strict resolution in terms of how you would like to see that that appeals committee work with a council person, the town attorney, and director of planning. I think it might be better.
you're losing me, Alice, because I thought we discussed this.
No. I'm saying there's no problem with the with what you want. It's just that in the resolution itself, to add a person's name rather than just their position is difficult, because every time we change anything, you have to keep going back to that resolution. Whereas when a supervisor in his liaison list, just include that in the list.
And what we'll do is we'll, let's see.
Change it.
I understand what Alice is saying, and I actually agree, because I know it's like using the title. So if you make it the liaison and then add a liaison to the appeals, that's how it could work.
Yeah.
So we'll then, I understand what you're saying. So then we'll designate one council member instead of saying designating Councilman Ed Lachterman. Then resolve the town board designates one council member, the town attorney. Let's say one council member.
And there is no name of the town attorney, right, or firm.
So let's say one council member, the town attorney, and director of planning as the body to hear appeals regarding the denial of access to records under the New York Federation of Information Law. Be it further resolved that the comptroller shall serve as an alternate in the event that the council person, town attorney, or director of planning are unable to hear an appeal. Acceptable?
Would the comptroller only replace the director of planning, not the council person? You would always want a council person and your town attorney there. I'm sorry for it this late.
Well, the only time you might not be able to have the attorney there is if the appeal is for the legal department.
Mr. Rodriguez, thoughts?
Do you want it to be town board member or town board liaison to the appeals?
Yeah. But you don't want the comptroller to replace a council person. If, let's say, if you weren't there, then you can say Tommy, you need to sit in for me there. I would always want a council person to listen to the appeal, because I think that's important just for town business, for one of us to listen to the appeal.
What if the appeal was something from the board, though? Wouldn't you then need to have the comptroller sit in? I think it's like an interchangeable chess piece, depending
All
on
right,
where
all right.
the appeal is.
Okay. Okay.
So we're okay as is.
Yeah.
Great. And then, so since we removed Councilman Lachman from the resolution itself,
Right.
Perhaps next week we should do a resolution with an assignment of someone to be on that
I
appeal.
was just gonna say, why can't we? Well, then I'll just make a motion now that we appoint Councilman Lachman as the liaison, town board liaison to the appeals committee.
I have no problem
Do
with
that.
that.
Just do that.
I mean, and make it would serve at the pleasure of the town board who that appeals officer would be at that point, correct?
Right. So the motion is that Councilman Lachman is named as the liaison to the appeals committee. Do I have a second?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Great. I'm sorry. I'm also going, then at this point, then I'm going to accept the motion for the previous resolutions as they were read, including the amended resolution, which now removes Councilman Lachman's name and is replaced by one council member.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
No opposed. Great. Moving forward, authorize comptroller to set up a tree bank fund under Chapter 270 of the Code of the Town of Yorktown. Just as a point of information for the public, this was obviously a result of the tree law that was passed at the end of last year. It was brought to our attention that despite the fact that a tree bank is cited as a potential alternative to a mitigation plan, there is no apparatus in place that's been formally put in place for the comptroller to collect these funds. So that's what this does.
Okay.
To approve extension of a bid for electrical work on town buildings. And I'm going to stop there. Do I have a motion to accept these resolutions?
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Great. Moving forward, award request for proposal from Mohegan Lake Aquatic Pesticides. The town had one amendment. And so I just wanted to read that into the record. This is at the end. Be it further resolved that the bid and the New York State DEC permit provide for up to a maximum of 10 lake requirements. The number of treatments, if any, is at the sole discretion of the Mohegan Lake Improvement District upon notification to the town board, and will not exceed the amount of $69,870 if all treatments are determined to be needed. So this is the resolution with that amendment. Do I have two
So
amendments?
moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Lastly, to authorize comptroller to process the following budget transfer and to approve dedication of parkland. And then finally, authorizes the supervisor to sign a letter of authorization that will enable WSP to submit engineering plans and associated documents for water and sewer main relocations to the appropriate regulatory authorities. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And if there is no other business before the board,
Monthly report, accept. I'll make a motion.
excuse me, thank you. Motion to accept the monthly report of the receiver of taxes. Mr. Councilman Ackerman made a motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And with that, if there's no other business before the board, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Yorktown. Stay well, stay safe. We'll see you next week.